When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Love saying that. It makes me sound like a DJ, but you don't tune in, do you? You just press a few buttons, and here I am in your ears. Do you know, the other day I was a guest on somebody else's show, and they said to me, David, you're the weirdest podcaster I've ever heard, and I kind of took that as a compliment. I don't know if I should, but I thought to myself, maybe it means that I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing it in a way that can't be replicated, and today's guest is a lady who I think is kind of doing her own thing as well. She's not weird, she's just lovely. I have to say that, but she is certainly somebody that is an entrepreneur that's really comes into their own because she's got the ability to be both specific and diversify on the subjects that she's passionate about. She's an Amazon #1 best-selling author and International Book Award winner, recipient of the Top 20 Under 40 Award for Vancouver Island, a successful entrepreneur, recognised real estate investor, and a popular speaker and workshop trainer. She's been speaking on stages large and small across Canada since 2009, sharing her simple and strategic systems for having more impact and influence in your life and business. Now, she's appeared as a guest on numerous news programs, including CTV, Global TV, Daytime Ottawa, and CFAX 1070. I don't know if that exists, and featured in publications such as Yahoo Canada, Entrepreneur.com, Ottawa Citizen, Toronto Sun, and many more. But once again, as we've seen recently on Join Up Dots, where she really comes into her own is by having the ability to tell stories that convert information into sales. She's an expert on helping people who aren't naturally born to sell get results, make an impact, and ultimately make more money for their company and for themselves, sharing proven techniques for better communication, productivity, and persuasion. She always leaves people inspired, excited, and with clear steps to take action immediately. So out of all the things that fill her time, what would be the one that she feels really pulls it all together and becomes her personal brand? And I suppose the big question, as we have her on the show, is what does she find is the #1 thing that holds people back from finding similar success? Well, let's find out as we bring onto the show to start joining up dots with the one and only Julie Broad. Good morning, Julie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. And am I weird, Julie? Am I weird? Because this guy said to me, you're weird, and I was excited by that weirdness. Is that a good thing?
Yes, I when you said I'm not weird, I thought, actually, there's not a lot of people who are like me, and if that's how you define weird, then I'm weird too. So, and I like it.
We should have the weird club because it does come down to the thing. I posted on Facebook today. I changed. You can have the ability to have a picture at the top behind your face, whatever that's called, and it's basically be yourself. It's easier than being somebody else. And pretty much that is. But you don't find it, do you? You don't find that across the world, that people really buy into the fact that actually just being yourself takes a lot less energy than trying to be somebody that you're not.
But it's hard. I mean, think about it. When we start in school, as little kids, they start to teach you how to fit in, how to be like everybody else. And even when you go to work, I mean, most companies have kind of an accepted dress code and things like that. Like, everything around us really teaches us how to be like everyone else. So if you decide to do your own thing and not follow that, it's hard. It's not as easy as you want to say be you, but it does take a little bit of work, and it also takes self-awareness so that you can kind of look around and go, oh, I actually don't need to do that. I don't need to dress like that. It's just because that's, I've been taught that that's how everybody else is doing it, but there's another way. It's not easy, but it's way more fun when you do it that way.
It is fun, but I always used to find that I didn't know why I wanted to do things my own way, because when I was a kid at school, everybody wore black, so I was the only one who wore grey. And I used to get into trouble for it, but I insisted. And then I went to work, and when you was working in a bank in London, you had to wear a uniform. I never wore the uniform once in 20 years. I had it on the peg, I just wouldn't do it. And people were saying, oh, just wear it, it's only like a suit anyway. And I'm going, no, no, it's not my suit, it's their suit. I'm not going to wear that. I'm going to over-deliver with my professionalism and selling power, and then they won't focus on the suit anyway. And more often than not, that kind of happened. I kind of over-delivered with results and got away with murder. But it is weird, isn't it, how some people just naturally go for it, but they don't know why. They're just kind of forced to take that path.
Well, good for you for taking your own path, because I know for me, for years, I was worried that people wouldn't like me if I did it, if I didn't do what everybody wanted me to do. So, I steered off on a path that wasn't my own for many years because of that. So good for you for, saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to be me, because it's hard to do that, especially, when you are someone who wants to be liked and accepted by other people, which most of us do. It's so much easier at first to kind of go, okay, I really like neon colors. That was my thing as a kid, but they made fun of me. And so I eventually stopped wearing them because, I wanted people to like me and to be nice to me. And I couldn't take the pressure for a while.
And so how does that sort of play once you go into environments? Because you're going into environments when you're standing up on stage and you're there for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, 20 minutes or whatever. And how do you bridge that desire for the audience to like you and actually not caring if the audience like you or not?
Oh, good question. So kind of two things have happened for me. One is that I had some great advice from someone who, if you haven't had him on your show, you really should, named Philip McKernan. But he gave me some advice one day as I came off stage, and I said, oh, I was so nervous. And he said, he said, I get nervous too, but he said, just focus on that one person in the audience that you can help with your message. Stop not worrying about yourself, worry about that one person, not even worrying about everybody liking you, just that one person that really needs to hear what you have to say today. And that took the pressure off. And it just really, really helped me ease into it and think about the fact that you're never going to get everybody to like you. So let's just focus on that one person you can help. And the other thing that happened for me was after I'd given a talk one day. Is one of those talks I was in the middle of a sentence and then just lost it. You know how you kind your brain just shuts off and there's nothing there and you just forget it. You just totally forget what you were going to say. And that happened. And, I kind of hung out for a few minutes, or felt like minutes. It was probably just seconds. And then just said, well, I'm not sure where I was going with that. And I kept going on something else. A woman came up to me after that talk and she said, you are a brilliant speaker. She says, really great. But I have to tell you, I didn't really think I liked you. I thought you were just too perfect until you lost your train of thought. And then I went, oh my goodness, she's a human.
It's funny, isn't it?
And she said, I really relaxed and enjoyed the rest of your talk after that. And I just had to meet you. And after that, I realized people don't want you to be perfect. They don't want you to be this thing that they can't achieve. You're human just like the rest of them. So that just let me relax so much more and be myself. And if I flub up, oh, my baby kept me up all night. Sorry, I'm not thinking as good as I usually do. And then carry on and pick up where I left off.
But that comes with confidence, doesn't it? That comes with that ability to understand, as you say, that we've all got backstories. We all get up and we put our trousers on the same way. We all have breakfast. We go out. And if you look uber professional, it doesn't mean that you are behind the scenes. I'll tell you a story. I used to have a boss. And if anybody's listening to this from my old office, you'll know who I'm talking about. But he was always totally professional, totally focused, really was on his game all the time. And you never knew what you were going to get with him. Sometimes it would be, he'd be totally on your side, and then the next week he'd be totally against you. But he was pretty sort of straight. And one night I had to go round his house because we were going on a social do and I had to pick him up. He was all over the shop at home. His wife ruled the roost. His kids were all over the place and he just was not in control at all. And I liked him more because of that. Because I realised that actually he was getting all these control element in place at work, and away he was just letting it go. I thought that was a kind of kindred spirit. That was two sides to the coin.
Exactly. Good story.
So you are somebody that is rocking and rolling, you're doing your thing, but as you've already alluded to, your thing didn't naturally find you. You've actually had to force your way into the sort of comfort zone. Why? Why didn't you just sit where you were comfortable, hidden away? Why did you feel that you had to get out there and be visible?
There's a lot to that, but really, I think for me, it comes back to I really want to help people, and I want to have an impact. It's kind of, I think, kind of like why you do a podcast all the time and do as many episodes as you've done. There's an element of fun, but at the end of the day, you have messages that you want to get out there. You have stories that you want to share that will impact other people. And so you're driven to get up and do it every single day from, 8 in the morning till 5 or even later. And I think that's really always been what I want is to help people in whatever way I can.
Now, your website is havemoreinfluence.com, which I'm amazed you got, actually, because I would have thought that was a domain name that somebody else would have snapped up. But there it is, havemoreinfluence.com in front of us. And, of course, you can teach influence once you've actually been through it yourself. And one of the things that really struck me is the sort of testimonials on your site. And it says, this is from a guy called Jeff Trapp. Don't know Jeff, but if you're listening, big up to you. I can't say it any more directly than Julie Broad is the real deal. When she's speaking on a subject, you better take notice. She's done the research and hard work, so you can do it the easier way. Has it been hard? Has it been hard to sort of get to the point where you are now? Do you look back on it and go, actually, oh, no, it was all right, it was a breeze? Or do you go back, oh, my God, no wonder I look like I do today. It's taken every energy out of me.
It's still hard. I mean, we just moved from Canada to Los Angeles, and I'm launching a new business. And, some people say to me, why do you keep doing this to yourself? And I'm like, well, that's a good question. But, anytime you do something new, it's hard. Nobody wakes up with the skills that they have later on in life. You have to develop them, and that's hard. I mean, when you're out of shape and you want to get fit, it's hard work to get there. For me, it's always worth it, because when you get to that point of mastery, when you get to that point of, helping somebody in some way, it's really, really fantastic. And it's just so powerful. So yes, it's hard, but for me, it's always worth it, because nothing that I've ever done in life that came easy really felt like an accomplishment, really gave me that satisfaction that the stuff that I've had to work hard to get, gives me. So it just depends on, I think, what fuels you, but...
But isn't the hard stuff the stuff that you shouldn't be doing? Isn't it? They all say that when it's just easy, when it's like making love and you can just relax, then it's the gold. That's the thing that you should focus in on.
Maybe not for me, because I like the challenge. I think I find that the satisfaction really comes from those things that you have to work hard to get. If everything was handed to me and it felt easy all the time, I'd be bored.
But you obviously like to hustle and work in environments that fit your natural talents, your skills.
That, and I want to control my schedule. And it's never been more important as it is now that I have a baby. I have to be able to be there for him when he needs me. So, it's a bit of a control thing, is I want to control my schedule, control my environment, so that I'm creating my ideal day, because it's about my ideal day, not your ideal day or anyone else's. So it's about what I want to wake up and do first thing in the morning, and, when I want to work out, when I want to hang out with my family, and I structure everything else around that.
And can you really have your cake and eat it now, Julie? Or are you still saying the words, but actually, no, I'll take me son just for the afternoon because I've got this work to do?
Well, I have lots of work to do as I launch a new business, and so yeah, it's not easy, and that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is it's hard, and I leave the house crying sometimes because just the other day he has a really bad diaper rash and he's starting to teeth, and he was upset, and I had to go. I had meetings in the afternoon, so I had to leave, and I left the house with tears in my eyes because he was in a bad state. But at the end of the day, it's all about the day that I'm creating and the life that I'm creating, and I'm helping other people, and I am still there for him, but it doesn't mean that I skip away every time I leave him and I'm always happy at everything I do. That's far from the truth.
It'd be the truth if you was the dad. I tell you, if my kids had nappy rash or diaper rash, as you say over there, I'd be skipping out. I'd go, that's for somebody else. That's for somebody else. I've got to go and do the proper stuff, the real work. But it's a difficult thing, isn't it, for ladies? Because, as I say, as a man, you can kind of escape this stuff. You can escape the sort of the child aspect. For example, when we have vacations, when we have half term, when the kids' schools close down, I never really have to worry about what's going to happen to the kids. It's almost always my wife that has to do it. I just carry on operating exactly the same way. But with ladies, it's different, isn't it?
Well, I think it depends on how your household is structured, but yes, I think at the end of the day, we can't stop. There's this emotional, biological connection that, even if my husband was, so to speak, going to be handling those things, I would still worry about it. Whereas the other way around is, I think you're right. I think when he knows that I'm going to take care of it, he doesn't even give it a second thought. So yeah, I think we're kind of hardwired where we have to. Biology makes sure that somebody's gonna watch over them, and I think there probably is some truth to that. But not being the father, I can't speak to it directly.
I always say, as long as they're still alive when you come back, job done. Job done. I can walk away from it, and I don't care if they've been eating slugs and snails all afternoon. If they're still alive, then that's my job done. It's a simple way of operating, isn't it?
It sets the bar low, but at the end of the day, that is an important thing.
A low bar is always good. So let's talk about your business again, because that's why we've got you here. And I can't quite grasp it. I can't quite grasp the angle. Who is your ideal client, your avatar? Who would come across to you and see it and go, I need to work with Julie?
Well, I've switched. So, I partly because of having the baby recently, I'm focused on working with entrepreneurs and professionals who want to write and publish a book. So my new company is called Book Launchers, and I still keep my HaveMoreInfluence.com website. That's still very much my website for my books and speaking. But I don't really want to do much speaking right now because I don't want to be leaving overnight or doing any big travel. So so my new, and I've been helping authors for quite some time. Those are some of the people that kind of just found me because I had self-published my 2 books, and people who had questions about the process, about selling their books, they were always coming to me, and I love books. I'm always reading. I have 4 or 5 books on my phone and hundreds of books. I had to give up lots of books when I moved down to the U.S. just because we didn't have room for them all. And it's just one of those things where that person found me. They kept coming to me, and I realized that there was an opportunity to help them and to help make the whole process of self-publishing so much easier because it's such a pain. And there's so many companies that help you with it, but help you with parts of it, or I think do certain aspects not as well as the authors need. So that's where I'm at. That's the avatar. That's the person that I'm really focused on helping right now. And the people that I'm working with are really cool. I'm really getting to hear some cool stories now.
Right, chicken and egg time. Okay, chicken and egg works across the world wherever you are. But I see it time and time again. And funnily enough, in the last episode of Join Up Dots, this guy was saying that he waited 20 years before he decided to write his book. So he was already at the top of his game and then put all his wisdom into writing the book. But we're seeing it more often than not that people now are kind of writing the book and they haven't done anything. They're kind of writing it based on what they think is going to be the right way of operating. They then say, I'm a TEDx talker, and they kind of, a book has become a kind of a stepping stone to something else, where previously it would be your life story, your experience. What do you think about that? What's right, the chicken or the egg, the book or the influence?
Well, I don't think there's a hard and fast answer. I think that, I think that if you're sharing your story or you're researching and sharing other people's story and using it as a stepping stone, I think that's not a bad approach either. Sharing your expertise after the fact, when you're at the top of your game, there's certainly benefits to everyone for that. I think it all comes down to your own goals and what you want and the message that you have and who it's going to reach. Because I do think a lot of people throw books out there thinking it's going to be the answer, right? If I can just write a book, I'll become the guru of this, this industry or this subject. And that's not the truth. I mean, that's not going to first of all, you have to sell it, which is really hard. You have to have a really good game plan before you even write the book as to who you're writing it for and who's going to buy it at the end. But, if there's crap in the book, it's not going to do anything for you at the end of the day. And I think you have to plan that out. But if you have a well-researched, well-thought-out message, I don't think it matters where you are in your own career, as long as it's a powerful message that, has value to the person that you're trying to reach with that book.
Well, let's play a powerful message now, and then we're going to talk a bit more about what we were talking about then. Here's Oprah.
The way through the challenge is to get still and ask yourself, what is the next right move? Not think about, I got all of this stuff. What is the next right move? And then from that space, make the next right move and the next right move. And not to be overwhelmed by it, because your life is bigger than that one moment. You're not defined by what somebody says is a failure for you, because failure is just there to point you in a different direction.
Now, so many people out there will be thinking the next right move is to write a book, to get sort of certified and get authority status. But when you think about what it takes to get a book out into the market, then the next part of what Oprah's saying, it's sort of overwhelm. Coming to you, does that take the whole sequence out of their hands, or what part of the process are you playing for taking that book idea out into the market?
We help them with, I have it kind of as 5 phases from, the start where you're writing it. I call it the pen to paper, all the way through to the promotional phase. So we help authors with all of that, but we help them. They're writing the book still. So I'm not offering a ghostwriting service or any kind of service. They're still writing it. But we do, it is overwhelming to think of all the steps. And so having somebody, whether it's a company like mine or a coach or somebody to guide you through the steps will take a lot of the overwhelm out of it. But even just the thought of, okay, I got to write this book, break it down, and I think that what Oprah's saying, the next right step, there's a lot of really wisdom in that, because if you look at a book and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to write 60,000 words, that's really overwhelming. But if you just sit down and say, okay, today I'm going to write 500 words on the subject of X, right? So you've got your time, you've got your topic, and you've got a target. And you just sit down for 30 minutes, you can accomplish a lot. And if you just do that every day or 5 days a week for 3 months, you'll probably get to your 60,000 words without really thinking about it as 60,000 words. And then you kind of tackle every phase like that. And we certainly support people and do as much as we possibly can for them to simplify and take the overwhelm out. But I'm a big fan of people writing their own book. There's nothing wrong with ghostwriting, but you want your voice to come through, especially because I do come from a marketing and branding background. And if you're using this book as a way to establish your credibility and build yourself as an expert, you have to make sure your voice and your message is what's coming through in the pages of that book. And the best way to do it is to write it. And of course, or secondary, dictate it and then edit the heck out of it. But it's a lot of work, no matter how you approach it, even if you hire out everything, it's still a lot of work because you want it to be your message and your stories.
Well, everything's a lot of work, isn't it? And that's what kind of annoys me so much when you see, and I talk about this all the time, I'm getting very boring. I'm one of these people, Julie, I'm getting into that age now that my stories are getting quite lengthy and boring. And they say that you can tell how old a guy is getting when the distance he had to walk to school gets longer every time he says it. And I'm moving into that where I'm now, it took me 6 hours to get to school every morning. You don't know how lucky you are, kids. You get a lift to school. Anyhow, but work is about incremental steps. That's one of the sort of metaphors of join up dots. It's the steps that take you from one point to another point, but it's the journey in the middle. Now, you're not scared of work, are you? You're not frightened of it at all, but has there been times when halfway through the work you thought to yourself, hang on, I think I've gone the wrong journey here. This just doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest moments I had was when I was working. I set out for the career. I did the MBA and I got the job that I looked around and thought, okay, yeah, this job will get me to six figures, quickly. And I worked really, really hard. Worked hard to build that company for the owner. And then I woke up and I had the six-figure salary and the annual bonus. And I went, oh, I didn't ever want to be here. This is not where I wanted to be. And I worked massively hard to get to that point. But I was chasing somebody else's path and was also really pursuing money. I really thought money was the goal. And hadn't really thought about what I actually wanted to be doing every day and kind of the impact that I wanted to have. I just thought I needed that six-figure salary and everything else would figure itself out.
But money is always the goal, isn't it? It doesn't matter what you do in life. You do need money. You do need to pay bills. Even on people say the online experience is very cheap. It is compared to brick and mortar, but you still need money to get things going, don't you?
You do need money, but I think there's a danger in making money your goal. Because, you can, like I found myself doing an MBA with finance as the specialty where I'm so far from a finance person, but, I looked around and finance jobs were the ones that paid the most money. And so instead of thinking about what I would enjoy doing, I was pursuing money and I got the money. And I can tell you, I was so far from happy that, it was kind of ridiculous what I had gone, all the things I had done to get somewhere I didn't want to be. So I think I agree, you need money, absolutely, but there's a danger in making money your goal.
I want global domination, Julie. That's what I want. I want adulation from every corner of the world, but under my own terms. Is that bad? Is that megalomaniac?
I'm going to pass on that question.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it's megalomaniac at the moment. I'll be totally honest with you because no one listens to this show, but it's very, very hot in my office. And so I started recording at 7 o'clock this morning and I was wearing a pair of shorts. And during the day, I got a bit hot in my shorts. So I've slipped the shorts down and now I'm just sitting in my underwear. It's very comfortable, but it doesn't give the image of global domination. When you see this sort of the James Bond villain stroking his cat and he can take over the world, it never pans down and you see his underwear. I've gone wrong, I think. I suddenly realised I've gone wrong, Julie.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
You've got nothing on.
I do. I am somewhat dressed, but it's early, so I'm kind of still in my pajamas.
That's all right. That's what we do on Join Up Dots. We start, and it's like speed dating. It's like strip and go naked. I won't ask you if you played that. That's a different show altogether. Let's get professional. So, looking back at your career, what is the bit that's given you most satisfaction?
Ooh, that's a good one. It's always different moments, but when somebody goes on and achieves something they didn't think they could do that they really wanted to do, I've worked with some really cool people and really like they're the ones that do the hard work. They're the ones that are, getting out of their comfort zone and doing it, but just, being a part of it, watching it, is really, really cool. And I've had some clients who have, quit their jobs and gone on to create a business doing something that they really, really want to do and they never thought they could. They never ever thought they could, or they thought they would always have to have a job. And they realized, that they have a lot more skills. They have a lot more power than they ever imagined. And they go off and they do something that surprises themselves and delights themselves. And that's pretty freaking awesome.
I'm on your website at the moment, Julie, and I've just actually seen a man with no underpants on, which is a bit amusing as I was just talking about that. But it says, when selling scares the pants off you, and in the United Kingdom, pants are, they're not trousers. Pants are underneath trousers. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but it says free selling tips for introverts, because that probably nails every conversation that I've had on Join Up Dots, where people realise that they've got a great idea, realise they've got a product, but it's the marketing. It's the marketing, getting it out to the world, and that brings everything to a crashing halt. So what are the free selling tips for introverts? How do we keep our underpants on, Julie? Teach us.
Well, first, the story that there's a story behind the no pants thing, although it was no trousers, not underpants, because I had a sales role and I was terrified of selling. And I had a big important meeting and I was getting ready to go. I worked at home and I was getting ready to go and my manager called me and she started asking me questions to make sure I was all set. And then I was running late. So I was running around my apartment, grabbing things, making sure that I had everything I needed for the meeting. I go out into the hallway, lock the door, walk down the hall, and I get down to the stairwell and I pull it open and it's one of those pressurized stairwells and I feel this whoosh of air. And I look down and I run back to my apartment, get back inside, and I find my pants because I had not finished getting dressed. I left the house in the UK terms, I left the house in my pants and didn't have my trousers on.
That's how it starts, that's how it all starts. And then you end up wandering around at lunchtime looking for yogurt and asking for mama. That's what happens.
Well, I didn't get to that point. I got dressed and went to the meeting. But yeah, so selling is not a comfortable thing for me. And so I've found ways to basically have people come to me and ask for, to learn more about what I do, or even just, other people tell other people. And then they come to me and say, okay, I need your help. And that's really the easiest approach for me because I am an introvert. And so, the thought of networking and a lot of the sales stuff that I did in that sales role, it was all really heavily social based, getting out there, going golfing with all your clients and all of that kind of stuff it was really hard work for me. And I had to find ways to sell. And again, that's where it came back to finding how I can help people and just focusing on that. And so I wasn't focusing on closing. I wasn't focusing on selling. I was trying to figure out what's their problem and is there a way that I can solve it for them? And if you approach, I think, life like that, but you approach your sales, your business like that, it's such a comfortable place to come from, and you don't have to worry as much about those closing techniques or anything like that because you're focused on helping the person that you're talking to.
I think that's brilliant. I used to work in the city in the late 80s and the sort of 90s, and basically we would just hard sell. And we didn't really care if the person didn't want the product. It was just all commission and get the sale and away we go. And now it's a much softer approach, but it's real, isn't it now, where people are actually taking the time to have conversations, or they should be, and finding out what that person wants. Because selling isn't scary if you present what that person's looking for.
Exactly. And it's funny because, I had actually just had a call the other day with someone who was interested in working with book launchers to write and publish and promote their book. And I said, you know what? I said, it sounds like you're really interested in this. It doesn't sound like you're committed. I think you'd be wasting your money at this point. I just didn't feel like he really was going to get the book done. And so, I could have taken his money, but I just thought it's just not good. And so we ended up having a really cool conversation. And after we hung up, he forwarded my information to two people. And I just spoke with one of them yesterday, and he's almost certainly going to be doing at least one book with us, and has two perfect people that he's going to connect me with that also want to do a book. So, that one person, I turned them away and we had a conversation and we got to know each other a little bit. It might lead to 5 or 6 other clients. So, I think at the end of the day, if you just focus on helping people, maybe the money doesn't come in that day, but over time, I think it's such a great way. It feels good, but I think it's such a great way to build a business.
Is it touching in on what all ladies know? If they play hard to get, us men are more interested. Is that kind of subtly what you're doing? You're pushing them away, and then they think, oh, wow, she's got integrity because she doesn't want my business.
I don't do it on purpose, but there is something to it. It's something, my husband and I have a real estate investment company. And one of the things we did for years was raise a lot of money. That's kind of where a lot of my selling background, where I started to get into branding and sales, was through our real estate business. And so we're raising, we're asking people for, $80,000, $100,000. And it wasn't until we started to turn people away. And we weren't doing it because it was a tactic. We were doing it because we started to realize that not everyone with money was a good fit. Some people were an absolute pain in the ass to work with, and some people just were never happy. And that doesn't do good things for your business, right? They don't tell other people good things about working with you.
Yeah.
if they're not a good fit to begin with. So we just started focusing on fit and turning people away. But we did notice that the more, like when you said to somebody, you know what, I don't think we're the right fit to work together. Sometimes it, as a sales strategy, it was incredibly effective because they would turn around and convince us that they were a good fit. So there's absolutely no sale there. So there is a tactic there, if you want to call it that. I feel uncomfortable saying, to use it as a tactic because you certainly could, but it feels disingenuous. Is that a word? To use it that way. For me, it really was about fit and trying to find the right people because that's the model I want to follow. But yeah, it's a tactic and it works. There is something about it, playing hard to get or pushing people away. Some of them will come back and be begging you.
You see, ladies know these things. That's what we should do, fellas. We should only focus in on the ladies because they know how to operate. And I think ladies do, not being flippant. I think ladies operate in a more subtle way than men. I think men sort of get their horns out and go rutting, but women just kind of ease through. I've seen many, many ladies be incredibly effective, and I don't really understand what they've done.
Well, I can't reveal those secrets because, that's the secret women code.
Yeah. I'm not going to go there. That'd be a totally different. That'd be a podcast and a half. I'd be iTunes #1 with that. It'd be millions of downloads. Well, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to play the words that created the whole show back in 2005. Steve Jobs stood up and said these words. It's worth hearing them again. Here's Steve Jobs.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college. But it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
So do they make all the difference when you listen to those words based on your own life?
Ooh, do they make all the difference? I think if I kind of go back to the Oprah quote too, is, if you just focus on that next thing that you need to do, over time, it does make all the difference.
I think the two come together really well, don't they? Because he sort of says, like, you're not going to have the answers, but just have faith. Just enjoy yourself. Just go for it. And she's saying, look, just do the next right thing. And when you do the next right thing, even though you don't know if it's going to work or not, I would say majority of times it does. And I think when I've had my big screw-ups, it has, looking back on it, it's been when I've been trying to force the issue. I've been trying to invest in to buy success in certain areas, or it just looks like I hadn't gone with the flow somehow. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and I think you just said it beautifully. I almost don't want to I almost don't want to add to it because it's so eloquent. Because I do think you need the faith to believe in yourself. When I decided to leave my job, when I said. When that moment kind of hit me and I realized that I had been chasing money and was exactly where I didn't want to be, in that moment, I decided to quit my job. And that took a huge leap of faith in myself because I didn't have, I had some real estate, but it certainly was not replacing my salary. I didn't have a clear plan as to what I was going to do, but I just knew I wasn't going to look for another job. I was going to create my own way. And that took a massive leap of faith. So in that regard, for sure, there's that faith. But then, I had to just, to avoid that overwhelm of, oh my gosh, how am I going to make money and pay the bills? I had to focus on that next right thing and just overall have that faith that, I was going to get where I needed to go and just kind of believing in myself, but taking action at the same time.
And do you still love all your businesses? Because you've got many plates spinning. Are there some that are your favourite children and some that are your ginger kids?
Yeah, I've wrapped up my coaching business. So I, as much as I enjoyed when people took action and created success, and those were some of my best moments, there's a lot of people who don't take action. And it's really hard to have a coaching and training company and day in, day out, watch people not do the very thing they need to do to create that life they want to live. And so over time, I started to grow a little tired of coaching. And that's, largely one of the reasons why when we wanted to move to the US and I wanted to start a new business, I started to focus on a service business. So there's certainly an element of coaching and training involved in walking people through their book. But for the most part, we do a lot of the work for you with the editors and all those pieces. So yeah, my my one child that I was not as much of a fan of anymore was after 9 years of coaching and education training company, I've slowly wrapped that up and I'm pretty much done that business now. So it's real estate and books.
But what did you learn? Just before we send you back in time, what did you learn from the kid that you didn't like? I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of stuff that I like. I do love working with people and helping them. But I also learned that there's always going to be some people that you can't help. They have to do the work for themselves. And if they're not willing to do it, you have to be okay with that. You can't try to force them to do the thing they need to do, but don't want to do. Yeah, you can't force anyone, can you? As I say, you just have to go with the flow. Just make life easy for yourself, and it seems to pan out. Well, this is the part of the show that we've been building up to, and this is the part that we call a sermon on the mic, when we're going to send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And if you could go back in time and speak to the young Julie, what age would you choose, and what advice would you give? Well, we're going to find out, because I'm going to play the theme, and when it fades, you're up. This is the sermon on the mic.
With the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
All right, so I'm going to talk to the Julie that was planning to go to university, trying to decide what to take in school. At some point in the future, you're going to wake up and realize that you've been working for a nasty, mean boss, a boss that doesn't care about whether you're working weekends. That boss probably forces you to do a lot of things that you don't really enjoy, a lot of accounting and things like that. And a boss that doesn't care if you're happy. The worst part is that you're going to realize that that boss was one you chose and pursued and worked really, really hard for. So who's this boss? Well, I'm going to give you a hint. Actually, I'm going to tell you exactly who this boss is so you know to watch out for this boss. The boss is money, and working just for money, making decisions like what to study in school and what job to take based solely on money might fill your bank account, but it can empty your soul. So let me ask you right now, what do you really want to do? The question is not, what can you make money doing? The question is, what do you really want to do? I'm not even asking what you think is possible. Just think about what you want to do. What do you dream of being? Grab that dream and go for it. And don't worry about what you think your parents want you to be when you grow up. Know that they really aren't that concerned about what you do as long as you're happy and healthy. And let the worries about what your friends are doing and what the cool thing to do today is, let that go. And know that at some time in the future, the cool thing is to actually be doing something you love, and all your friends will want to know how you did it. And finally, for goodness sakes, let's try to make decisions based on what you'll love, not just that mean boss money, because truthfully, some of the worst work and the worst moments that you'll encounter will be because you were chasing that mean boss money.
Great advice for all of us, not just your younger self. Now, what's the number one best way that our audience can connect with you, Julie?
Through havemoreinfluence.com, there's lots of ways to connect with me there, or my new site, booklaunchers.com, can connect with me. Both will go direct to me.
We'll have all the links on the show notes. Thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots. And please come back again when you've got more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up the dots and connecting our past is the best way to build our futures. Julie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun. And make sure you put your pants on before you leave.
They've already come all the way off now. I promise you. They're gone. They're gone. And I'm going to switch to webcam, Julie, straight, just for you. Just for you.
Thank you.
And I didn't turn on the webcam. It would have been too much for her. It would have been too much for any lady, I promise you. But thank you so much for Julie to be being on the show and delivering what was a real masterclass. There were so many avenues that she delivered there. That is one of those episodes that you really need to go back 2 or 3 times and listen to. The struggles, the persistence, finding the right thing, and how she's pulled it together. And being very open that sometimes you create a business that when you look at it, it's not actually the business that you want. Hopefully you won't have that issue and you will go on to great things. And if you need any help, you know we're here. Send up the dot and we will see it in the sky and we will be there. Until next episode, see you again. Cheers. See ya. Bye-bye.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice that every successful entrepreneur practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.